Hey guys, welcome to Mr. R Show. I'm Ashton,
Andy.
and we are here to talk about our May political prediction maps. We did some last month, and thank you guys
Mhm.
so much for the good support on that. And let's get this one a rockin', Andy. It's been a eventful, or let's say uneventful, last few weeks, and every day has felt like it's been like a year or a month every day. So it's
Mhm.
time has been crawling. So
I
let's
agree.
see your
Mhm.
map, see where you think states are going, where you think the campaign is going, and how you think it's Biden versus Trump is kind of heading towards.
All right. Disclaimer before we start: these maps are not going to be as accurate as they're going to be in November. That's kind of an obvious statement, and it is based on what is happening today. Meaning, if we voted tomorrow or even today, this is what we think it will shape out. Who will win as of now? You saw that last month. If you have not seen our video, go watch it. The April edition of this, as it was a little bit more skewed than it probably will be come November. But this is a as of now map. We're getting that out there. So if you don't like what we say, we're sorry, take it with a pinch of salt, as this is just our opinion. We all have our own. But without further ado, let me share you guys my map. All right, guys, there you have it. This is my May map prediction. As you can see, Biden I gave 290, Trump I gave 248. Compared to last month's map, it is a lower margin of victory for Biden. Still, he would not be upset with this kind of win. Any win, honestly, it is not going to make anyone upset, obviously. But as you can see from last month's, my margin of victory is shrinking a little bit. And before I get your initial reactions, Ashton, to my map, the two really big changes I have to my map is that I flipped Florida. I gave him back to Trump, and I gave him North Carolina, and then I gave Pennsylvania to Biden. So those are my main three changes. The rest I think are pretty much the same. But Ashton, how do you feel about my map? What are your initial thoughts?
So I feel like overall it's a sensible map. Um, I'm a little shocked to see that you still have Ohio as more solidly Trump than Texas. That's a interesting take. I feel like it should be worrying to the Trump campaign, some of the polling stats coming out of Texas. Um, I also feel like in Pennsylvania, uh, it is more and more showing more reliably for Biden than it ever did for Hillary. Hillary always was polling in the low twos, 3 point margin. She never was getting in the sixes, sevens, and eights. So there are a lot of different ways you can look at the polls. You can look at them, especially when it comes state specific, because overall the general polling when it comes to the general election matchup was correct in 2016. Hillary Clinton was polling at around 3 to 4 points. She won by three. But it was the state polling that people kind of misread and didn't understand how to read. And that's where he got his wins, and that's how he won the election fairly. So when you look at polling now, it can be either like 2016, where some states weren't polled enough, and a lot of shocking things happened, or it can be like 2012, where almost every result was polling predicted. So you can kind of have these two dichotomies that you have to read and kind of know where good polls are. And maybe one day we'll do a video on what is a good poll and what's not. I did a lot of statistics in college, so I really enjoy looking at good polling data, even if it shows my guy or the person I like losing, because you need to know that in order to change your strategy and know what's happening. So overall, Andy, I feel like you have sensible map. I feel like it's um it's showing how close this race is, because all it would take is Biden losing Pennsylvania, one more state.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. You can see I have Pennsylvania as a tilt right there, and I have a lot of the other major states, like you have Texas, you have Florida, all are very, very, very slight margins for Trump as well. So this race, you can see my map. Yeah, I do have Trump losing, but that's not saying that it's not very easy for him to win. He's Both candidates have very clear paths. Both can win. It's again too early to tell. We like doing these prediction videos early just for fun, But as of right now, I still have Biden winning 290 to 248. So,
Hmm.
guys, that is my general election prediction for May. And coming up, we're going to see Ashton's. So, Ashton, take it away. Ooh, I am a little shocked with your map, Ashton. Lots of interesting cookies to talk about today.
Yeah,
Do you want
yeah.
to do you want to talk about it before I have some of my questions?
So I feel like we've talked about this a lot off air, Andy, and at least for me, I like to explain this election as that bridgeway election between two different political generations, so to say, where this election will be the one where you start seeing a shift in voter ID. And what I mean by that is, I feel like uneducated college whites are going to start going more for Republicans, union type household stuff like that, more for Republicans,
Hmm.
and then you'll see the suburban women vote going more for Democrats. The more moderate the people who used to vote overwhelmingly in the suburbs for the Republicans, I think that's going to start going towards the Democrats more. And you can see this reflect in the map, where states like Wisconsin and Ohio and Pennsylvania are going to be always competitive now when they weren't as much. And you're going to see states like I'll leave you to ask questions about
Uh,
Texas and Georgia,
yes, yes. But
and then
do you mind sliding your map up just a little bit? I cannot see your actual number margin.
yes,
Oh wow, that is even worse than I thought. Wow.
yeah,
Dang.
and a
Bold.
lot of these margins I have in these states, like yeah, I see Biden winning right now Texas by 10,000 votes, but Georgia, I think Trump would win it by 1,000. I have Florida like 1,000. South Carolina, I honestly think he would get within like Biden would get within 5,000, 10,000 votes in South Carolina,
All
which
right.
are
Wow.
crazy close. I really think the economy being as bad as it is right now, it's going to start amplifying a lot of the issues the Republicans have. And I thought they were having in January and February, even when I had them winning. Um, it's starting to amplify it, and you're going to start seeing states, if conditions get worse and Trump's approval number doesn't like go up, you're going to start seeing more and more independents take out the frustration on the incumbent. And that happens almost every re-election campaign where you see an incumbent during a struggling economy.
So I have, if I'm looking at your map correctly, two main major ones. One's the most obvious question. Anyone that's going to look at this map is going to say, "What, Ashton? Seriously?" And then you finally, for the first time in decades, have Texas going blue. Yes, it's
Mm.
tilt blue, meaning it's going to be within 1-2%. It's going to be really, really close. But you think it's time? You think this is the year that the demographics change? For my map, I did not think that. I still have Texas going Trump. I think it's getting closer. I don't think it's going to be 2020. What makes you confident that 2020 is going to be a year that Texas flips to the Democrats?
Well, it's not. I think Republicans, some, especially more Trump supporting Republicans, when when I do think they're going to lose Texas, they're going to blame demographics. It's not going to be just demographics. Yes, that's a part of it. You're going to have even higher percentage of Latinos voting and African Americans voting in Texas. That's only going to cause a few hundreds of thousands of votes in Texas to go for Democrats. It's going to be that suburban revolt that I think Republicans are seeing in a lot of areas. Like Orange County in California was solidly Republican for over 30, 40 years. It went for a Democrat in 2018. And you've seen it in states like Virginia, which were that was solid red. It's out of their hands now, and I feel like this is the election with the mixture of changing demographics and that soccer mom saying, I just can't buy this dude anymore. and someone like not necessarily like charismatic and likable like Joe Biden, but who is just good enough to be like I can see him at at the helm and not be as disruptive and as combative as Trump is during a time where we need stability. I just see states like Texas and North Carolina, states that are very independently driven. It's going to start becoming a very close race. And this doesn't mean Biden will win Texas. I think he will. But whoever wins it, I do believe it'll be by a few thousand votes in Texas, which is insane to think.
It's very insane. I 100% agree with you. Texas going blue is, you know, a lot of forecasters think that's going to happen. Eventually, it's going to happen. Most states flip it. It's going to happen. It's just part of the election cycle. It's give and take. It always happens. But for Texas to go blue now, or could possibly go blue, is what you're saying.
Well,
It's just crazy to think about. But moving on to my next question for you is: you can see up in the industrial type, upper Midwest area, you have Minnesota blue, Michigan blue, Illinois solid blue, but you have a difference in your map with Wisconsin being red. Why
yeah.
does Wisconsin for you go red, while a lot of polls are saying Wisconsin is going blue?
So a lot of the polls I've seen is it shows a trend where Biden is surging in Wisconsin. I will give the Biden campaign that. But my issue with a lot of those polls are a lot of them have a high margin of error. And Biden is only 2.8 in the RCP average above Trump. That's well within the margin of error. That means Trump could be up by 3 points and we wouldn't know it. So to me, I give the incumbent a especially in a state like Wisconsin that's heavily white, heavily uneducated white working class. I'll give the incumbent a advantage for now until I see polls that are even more heavy leaning, kind of like I wasn't sold on Pennsylvania until like maybe late February as being like more heavily towards Biden. So it took a few polls to convince me of Pennsylvania being a little bit more for Biden. Same thing with Wisconsin. Um, I will comment on your Texas analysis. I'll say Michigan was a state that was going like 10 plus points for the Democrat, and it hadn't gone for Republican in like over 30 years. So it's people need to be careful about the states that they assume are on their side and just say because it's been that way it'll always be that way. Things happen to swing states 10 plus points. I mean, Michigan swing 10 plus points from 2012 to 2016. It's not doesn't mean Texas will go plus 8 for Biden. What I'm saying is there's a possibility that some states, given the circumstances, can change at so much drastically to surprise people. And I feel like Texas is probably going to be one of those states. I would also look out for South Carolina. You live there, Andy, and no one, no one, even the deepest blue people on Twitter said that a Democrat could win in Charleston. I was the only person, almost one of the only people outside of Joe Cunningham himself, who said a Democrat could win in Charleston. And he ended up winning that seat by surprise by a few thousand votes, or like 1,000 votes. I feel like a Democrat, Joe Biden, could win in South Carolina. And right now, I see Trump just barely holding on to South Carolina by a few thousand votes. If things continue, it could get interesting down there too.
But yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see how these maps will play out as the coming months keep coming on, even though it feels like forever with all the pandemic going on. But yeah, guys, I'm going to put both of our screens up at the screen right now, and you can see this the different differential of Ashton really having Biden landsliding in one of the biggest landslide elections in recent history, with Biden getting about 333, and you have my map with Biden getting a winning advantage of about 290 to 248. So we both have Biden winning. We have I wouldn't say vastly different, but just different margins of victory. But it'll be interesting to see, and we will update you guys next month around the same time for June, our June general election predictions. If you want to see more of our political content, watch our last month's video of this, or watch our new series, where we're going through every swing state, starting with Arizona, where we talk about the profile, which is like demographics, just some of the major industries, and who it better favors. Very interesting. You should check this out. But
Mm.
Ashton, unless you got something else to say, I think we can call it a good video. Um, Stay safe out there, guys. As you know, some states are starting to reopen, and we're starting to get sort of back to normal. Be safe, as Ashton is demonstrating. Wash those hands, and as always, be safe and have a good rest of your night.